Well, Donald Trump, of course, remains the strong frontrunner up here to win the Republican primary in New Hampshire tomorrow. The latest UMass tracking poll shows the man leading the field with 34%. Look at that, a hefty lead. Everybody else is way back, 21 points behind, all bunched together and fighting with each other. Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, all in one circular firing squad. That must be one of the nice things about the debate the other night. You walk in there and everybody's fighting with each other and ignoring you.
Well, I didn't know what happened exactly. I was just sort of standing there watching everybody go wild. I was very happy about it. That's okay with me.
What did you make of Marco Rubio doing an imitation from the Blade Runner? He just started repeating himself. Wow. 6 times he repeated whole speech parts. What was it? Short-term memory loss? I was standing right next to him. I don't know what it was, but I was standing right there. And he's a nice guy. He's been very nice to me, I must say. But I heard it once. I heard it a second time. I have like a good memory. And then I heard it a third. I said, I think it's the exact same words. Yeah. It wasn't even like I know you've replayed it. And then after the 5th time, I said, I wonder if he's going to do it once more. But it was a little bit. He hung in there. Let me ask you about, talk to the voter for a minute here. Don't use up too much time. It's snowing up here now. It snows in New Hampshire. People know how to get cars. They used to put chains on. Now they got good tires. Why should they trudge through the snow for Donald Trump?
Well, you know, my whole concept and my whole theme, frankly, behind it is make America great again, Chris. We're going to strengthen up our borders. We're not going to let the drugs pour in. New Hampshire has an unbelievable heroin problem and drug problem. We're going to build up our military. Nobody's going to mess with us. We're going to take care of our vets. We're going to get rid of Obamacare. You and I have discussed it. I mean, you know, whether you like it or don't like it, it's tremendous what's happening in terms of the increases, 25, 35, 45% increases on Obamacare. It's unheard of.
Let's talk about how you get it done. Now, we know about the wall, we know about your time, and I think it appeals to a lot of people. But here's what happens. You get inaugurated. You take the oath. Yeah. You have the ball, the party that night. You come back to the Oval Office. You get a call from the Speaker of the House. Say it's Paul Ryan. You know, Mr. Trump, I think that idea of yours of building a wall is disgraceful. I won't even bring it up for a vote. What do you do?
I'm going to get it done, Chris. You know,
he'll just say to you, I'm not bringing it up.
He may say that, but he may also go along with me 100%. And I think my history is that I cajole and I get people to do what they have to do.
What are your tools?
Washington is in gridlock right now. You understand
I know
that.
All about this, and I know
gridlock.
How things don't get done.
And when you see Congress, what does it have? I think the last time I saw it was a 9%.
That's where it belongs.
Okay, about 9. No, but we're going to make it better. We're going to bring it up.
Okay,
we're going to get things done.
Let's talk about your experience. When you put up a building in New York, and there it is, that big building on 5th Avenue, the Trump Tower, and you got them all.
They all said you could never get zoned.
I know. Well, here's what. I'm not in the business. But I've heard about New York, I got to pay a special percent, maybe 5 to the bad guys. You got to deal with councilmanic privilege, where some local councilman will stiff you just so he gets something out of you. Or you've got a labor union that's being very difficult. What do you do? How do you scare them into doing what you want them to do, or pay them off, or what do you do?
You hear all these bad things. All I know is I get zoning.
How do you get it done?
I've always gotten out. I'm the king of zoning.
But how do you do it? What's your technique?
I deal with people. I hire experts. No, I hire people that are good at getting it done. You pay these guys? They're consultants, and they work for you.
No, do you pay the lawyers? Do you pay the
I don't. No,
you don't
I
have
don't.
To. You've never had to pay a councilman?
The problem is, if you do that, first of all, it's dishonest, and I'm an honest guy. But if you do that, you know what happens? Everybody else comes along, and it never ends. If you don't do it, it's like the old story. You take care of building inspectors, all the building inspectors hear about it, they all come to you. I don't do it.
What happens when the wise guys come in and say you're not building?
Well, I've known tough cookies over the years.
I mean,
and
wise
I've gotten
guys.
Along. I know what you mean by wise guys. I've known very tough people. I've known people that make the politicians that you and I deal with every day look like little babies. They'd walk across the street out of fear if they ever saw some of these guys. I deal with people that are very tough people, and I get it done. I deal with people that are heads of countries, you know, because I'm all over the world. My company is all over the world. I get along great with people.
So even guys like Meade Esposito in the old days of King County, you had to deal with him.
Meade was great. Let me tell you something.
He was great.
I'll tell you something. I knew him very well.
Okay.
Meade Esposito
He was the boss of Brooklyn.
Meade Esposito, he was the boss. Meade Esposito, in his own way, was a very, very honest guy. When he gave you his word on something, it was done. I deal with politicians. They give you the word. It's like it means nothing. Meade Esposito, in a certain way, was a very honorable guy.
Let's talk about the race. You're a nationalist. Maybe you don't know, but when you say things like either we have a country or we don't, I get it. If you can be on immigration, jobs going overseas, best jobs to China, worst jobs to illegal immigrants, I get it all. Trade deals you don't like. You don't like the stupid wars we've had to fight. So you're the nationalist. You're up against the socialist. Who wins?
Oh, I'd beat him. I think I'd beat him easy for one reason. When I start talking about tax rates, I would hit him so hard on taxes. You know, somebody's got to pay for it. You understand.
Who would pay for the tuition for everybody? Who would pay for the higher Social
You're going to pay.
benefits?
I'm going to pay. We're going to all
pay for Medicare for life?
95% taxes. That's what's going to pay, Chris. It's impossible. I would love to run against him. The only one I'd rather run against, because Fox poll just came out where I'm beating Hillary by 5 points. I would love to run against Hillary just because it's, you know, it's more of a name. but there's no way you lose to Bernie. When you start going into the taxes, I'm actually surprised that Hillary isn't playing the tax card. And I'm a little surprised that Hillary continues to run with her email problem.
No, she's not playing any cards. Let me ask you about the old names. Why are the Clintons, both of them, having troubles this time? Bill on the campaign trail. Well, you basically pushed him out with that thing about sexist charges and all.
They have not said a bad thing about me. I know you
pushed him off the trail.
Were you impressed? Were you impressed?
I am impressed with stuff that works in this case. Anyway, let's go about the Clintons and the Bushes are nothing politically right. They're having such a hard time out in the stump. You don't like Jeb. You've been awful tough on him.
I'll tell you why.
Why don't you like a nice old guy like Jeb?
I'll tell you why. He spent $20 million on ads against me, which he shouldn't have done. He should have focused on people that are ahead of him, but he spent $20 million. They're false ads, and he says false things about me. I mean, he says so much, talks about Second Amendment. Nobody's stronger in Second Amendment than me. He would make it believe like I'm not. He brings up taxes. I have the biggest tax decrease of anybody else, and he makes it sound like I'm going to increase taxes.
What about the stadium?
He's really lied. The stadium is another one. Eminent domain. Thank you very much. Eminent domain. He talks about me with eminent domain. It just came out this morning that his father and the group, the Bushes, not him because he's not smart enough to do it, but his group used eminent domain to get the stadium bought, the land around the stadium bought in Texas. So he's very embarrassed by it. Let me tell you, he's not going anywhere. He just announced, he spent $120 million on the campaign. He just announced about 20 minutes ago that he's now against super PACs. Well, he spent most of the money in a super PAC, and now he announces that he is against super PACs. It's really pretty sad. He's a sad case.
Something that bugged me. You talked about torture. You didn't use the word. You talked we're going to get further than waterboarding. You're going to be commander-in-chief if you win. You're responsible to every enlisted person in the Army. You're responsible to all those people. They get captured. There's always been the concern in our government, and the reason why we don't torture prisoners, people in uniform, is because our guys are going to be captured, and we don't want them tortured. Now, aren't you worried, as commander-in-chief, that you will legitimize torture?
Came up in the debate. They asked Ted Cruz about waterboarding, and he was very tentative with that answer. I don't think he had a good night. He was very tentative with that answer. You saw that. Then they looked to me. What do you think? I said, I'm all in favor. And I said, the reason I'm in favor, well, I said, I prefaced it by saying, the reason I'm in favor is because they're chopping off heads, not since medieval times. You know, you and I used to study.
By the way, it's not since medieval times. The French Revolution, they did a lot of guillotine.
All right, well, I used medieval times.
They did.
But not since I said.
They did drawing and quartering in England in the 19th century.
You're right, but you know, it made medieval times made more of an impression on me, I guess. Okay. But I said, not since medieval times have we talked about chopping off heads. I know the parents of James Foley. I see
Let's talk about that guy, because I carry his picture in my wallet, and I think we share that.
Great guy, right.
To me, he was a man of noble courage.
Great parents, by the way.
Noble courage right to the end. He saw what was happening to him. He knew he was going to reach his end on this earth.
I agree.
And he stood his ground and never buckled. What a great man.
100%.
Let me ask you, suppose you get a call and you're in the Oval Office or at 3 o'clock in the morning, and somebody tells you they just picked up one of our uniformed guys. They were embedded in an Iraqi unit. They got picked up by damned ISIS. They say they're going to chop his head up, cut his head off in 5 days. What would you do?
Well, I'll tell you what,
5 days.
The one thing I won't do, because I think this is what you're getting at.
No, I'm not getting at anything. I don't know the answer.
You can't. Well, they're tough answers. They're always tough answers.
What's your answer?
These are very tough answers. The one thing you can't do is start taking care of people by giving money to get people out. Because once you do that, then everybody in this room is going to be gone. So you can't do that. I mean, it's horrible to tell parents that. You know, like the parents of James Foley, who I love. I know him and I love them. They're great people.
Good for you.
And he was great.
What would you do if it was you and Foley?
I would never negotiate.
What would you do?
I would. What I'd really like to do, I'd like to find it. Yes, I would try and stop it. I would do everything I could if we could find the area. I would bomb. I would do whatever I could to stop it. The one thing I will never do is pay ransom, because once you pay ransom, it's over.
You've paid tribute. Some of the Republican candidates have paid tribute to Reagan, saying the minute he came in 1981, they sent the hostages back. What was he threatening with implicitly? There must be something about.
He said they will not be there when I'm president, and he meant it.
No, they did that to punish Carter anyway. But where's this power?
Yeah, but I think he was a little bit scary. I watched that, and Carter was a nice man, but you know they had no fear of Carter for whatever reason. Okay, when Reagan,
how do you just start? No, this is very important. I learned when I worked for Tipple in the old days that the reason that the Russians were impressed with Reagan is he broke the Patco strike. It was a demonstration. Dwayne Andrews came back with that and said, those guys took that seriously. How do you
that was not an easy strike.
How do you demonstrate strength so they don't take our hostages? How do you get the message across like Reagan did, don't mess with me? Because strength is a lot about the appearance of strength.
I think the strike in his case was good, but I think it's almost an error that some people have, not a lot of people have. I don't want to ever be saying that I have it. I mean, you obviously think I do because you said,
No, I'm
things
asking.
like
I'm wondering how you can save guys
I
like
would never
Foley.
say. I always hate when somebody says, I have this or I have that or that. I don't talk about myself. People can say whatever they want. I'll tell you one thing. If we didn't get our hostages back, we paid $150 billion for hostages, but if we didn't get them back, or the 10 sailors, the way they made us look, that was a pretty humbling thing, what they did with the 10 sailors. But if we didn't get our hostages back, they would have had hell to pay if I were president. That I can tell you.
Have you been impressed by any opponent in this campaign? Personally impressed? Wow, that guy had a good answer. That woman had a good answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to tell you yes. Yeah, a couple of them are impressive.
Who?
Some of them are unimpressive. I mean, I think Jeb Bush to me is very unimpressive. Very unimpressive.
How about Kasich?
Yeah, he's got something that's okay. I mean, he's got something. He's done a good job. Now he got helped by fracking, in all fairness. You know, when you frack and
you know how many Democrats I bump into who like Kasich?
I like him.
Yeah, as a candidate.
No, I like him. I like him too. He was very nice. Then he went hostile on me.
Would you think about him when
Chris,
you're
wait. Kasich went hostile. You know, he went very hostile to me. The second debate.
You're the front runner.
And then what happened? He decided that wasn't
king of the hill. You know that how it works. Do you think he'd be a good running mate for you?
I think he would. I'm not picking
Ohio
now, but I think
Ohio.
He would.
Ohio.
Well, I have very good poll numbers in Ohio.
You got to win Ohio.
But you have to win Ohio. You have to win Florida.
Well, how do you get Florida?
Well, right now I'm at 48% in Florida. I'm at 48. Bush is at like 6, and Rubio I think is at 11, and I'm at 48. And I'm saying, what do I need anybody for, right?
Okay, tomorrow night if you win, you're the front runner. Are you going to let anybody take it away from you and say, well, he didn't beat the spread, or
well, that's what
the real,
you know what?
the bronze winner? I'm sorry, the silver winner tomorrow night will be the real winner.
Well, that happened a little bit in Iowa. I came in second. I was 2,400 votes ahead of the third place. And the third place person, who was Marco, was like a genius, a king. I never even did it before. This is the first time I ever ran for office. So I came in second, probably came in first, to be honest with you, because votes were taken away from Carson that if they weren't taken away, I would have come in first. So let's say I came in first or second, because I don't forget things like that. And all of a sudden, the guy that came in third is like a hero, and the guy that came in second, and I kept saying, how come he's a hero and
okay,
Donald
you got one big problem.
Night.
Rubio proved the other night he repeats himself.
That's not good.
So he will repeat himself in this regard. He will say, I won again. The guy's amazing.
Is, how big an impact does it have long term? Short term, it has an impact. Will that affect him long term? I mean, you know, the famous Dan
let's talk
Quayle.
about it. I think you and Bernie have two things in common. He's a socialist, self-described. I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking it. That's what he wants to be. And you're a nationalist. I believe that about you. You both have a focus. And you both have joy in your campaign. There's fun when people leave your things.
I
the
love
other
what
campaign,
I'm doing.
no, with the other people, not you. I'm wondering, you seem to have lost some joy since Iowa.
Lost or gained?
Lost.
Oh, no,
you don't seem as happy as you were last week.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm happier now. I just looked at those polls. You just showed me those polls.
Well,
that makes me very happy.
That's why I'm here.
I'll tell you, we have another thing in common with Bernie. There's only one difference. I can do something about it, trade. He knows the United States is getting ripped off by China, by Japan, by Mexico, by everybody, okay? And so do I. The difference is I'm going to do something about it. We're going to make a fortune. Bernie can't do anything about it. He wouldn't know where to begin.
How do you make China change its currency policies?
By telling them that if you don't change, you're going to have a hard time trading with us.
And what do we do about our debt problem with China if we stop trading with them?
We work out a deal with them.
See, they got us.
What people
don't they have us by the shorts?
No, we have them.
But they have I have our paper.
Excuse me. We have them. They need our money to come in. Chris, we have them, and nobody understands
Who's carrying our debt?
It doesn't make any difference, Chris.
We're up to $20 trillion and they're carrying us.
If we played numbers with them with trade, they would have a depression the likes of which you've never seen before. We have China. We're going to make a great deal with China. Don't forget, I have the biggest bank in the world from China in my building. I sell millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of condos. I own the Bank of America building in San Francisco because of China, along with a group. I want to tell you something. We have all the cards. And I deal with China, and I have nothing against China. What I have
let me ask you about the Mexican.
No, what I'm upset about is that our leaders deal so badly.
Okay, late breaking news, last question. The Calderon, the former president of Mexico, says he won't pay for the wall.
Okay.
What's it mean to you?
He'll pay. Trust me, he'll pay. We have such a trade imbalance with Mexico. We have such a trade deficit. The wall is peanuts compared to the kind of numbers.
Would you get rid of NAFTA?
I would get rid of it or amend it greatly. NAFTA has been a disaster, especially for New Hampshire and areas like this.
Thank you.
Thank you
Donald
very
Trump,
much.
thanks for coming over. Coming up, well.